Let's talk about character. It really feels like the Cardinals have been super intentional with their picks this season. We'll talk in depth about that next.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh.
Murray heaves it downfield. It's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins. Miraculous. It's Murray magic.
The sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to the sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Singh, along with my fabulous co-host, Charlotte Shaff. How are you this week, Charlotte?
I'm doing all right. It's been a busy week as always. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I may not be as enthusiastic in this podcast, but I will give it my best.
I will be enthusiastic enough for the both of us.
Perfect.
Well, we are just settling in, coming out of the draft. Dates for camp have been announced. We have a lot of different movement and things underway with players being added, players being removed from rosters. But the one thing that's really stuck out, Charlotte, has been the positivity, the undercurrent of the change in culture and the comments coming out of players. For example, there was a tweet that came out from a Cardinals fan in the community that goes by Bird Droppings, and they were asking about Calais Campbell, and this kind of feeds into the whole notion of a positive team culture. Why don't you talk about that tweet, the original tweet, and how you replied to that?
Well, the tweet was talking about, would it be a good idea to possibly bring back Calais? And I personally think that would be a great idea. He was with the Cardinals much longer than he's been with any of these other teams that he's been flipping to in the past few years. He just was like a beloved member of the team. He's also, he's one of the top available free agents right now. And in my opinion, I think he's the top when it comes to getting him on someone's team. And for me personally, I think we need to snag him before the Bears do. They seem to be really eyeing him right now. And for me personally, I just feel like his seniority in regards to the team and what he's able to do on the field would have a lot of really good positive effects for everybody involved on the team at the Cardinals. So I'm hoping that they might consider him.
I agree. And he just fits that mold. Calais Campbell has been a nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year, I think, like for the last several years, no matter where he is. And last year was no exception. I got to meet him at the Walter Payton Man of the Year event at Super Bowl week, and he is the nicest guy. Worked so well with the kids. Yeah, I think it fits right in with everything that they've been building.
Absolutely. We need a lot more of these senior guys to just kind of let everybody know, hey, we're here for the long haul. We are a part of the community and we're a part of a team on the field. So let's hope for Calais.
And then other players that we've been hearing from or hearing about. Let's talk about Darius Robinson. You're a big fan.
I'm already a big fan. I mean, the kid's from Michigan, so you gotta love a Michigan boy, even though he went to Missouri. But he actually, if you didn't know, and we saw this from a tweet from our friend Suze, one of the Cardinals fans of the year in the past, and she is one of my favorite people to follow just because she's very positive and inspiring. And so basically, he not only has a bachelor's in hospitality, but he also has a master's in positive culture with an emphasis on athletic leadership. I mean, in the end, what a cool degree to have and to go for your master's. And I learned a little bit more. Not only does he have a master's, but when he went into his 5th year at Mizzou, he turned down getting an NIL. He decided to start his own nonprofit. So this guy is already like ramped up to want to do things in the community. He's been doing stuff in his communities. So what an awesome person to have, not only on the field, but in the community. I'm super excited for Darius.
Yeah, me too. He was the second pick
Mhm.
in the first round for the Cardinals. I feel like they have been really intentional with who they were choosing. Now, that's not to say that Darius Robinson wouldn't have been a first round pick anyway, because he
Oh, yeah.
would have. Um,
Mhm.
but there very well could have been another pick ahead of him, perhaps, that the Cardinals might have been thinking of in the 27th spot. But he has that character that I think they are very intentionally choosing. Marvin Harrison Jr. had been quoted, "I had my fingers crossed that Arizona would pick me up." I mean, come on, he's the very first of the first round picks for us, pick number 4. It was very unlikely that the Cardinals would have done anything else, but the fact that he said he had his fingers crossed that he'd land here is a product of this positive culture
Absolutely.
outside of targeting stellar human beings. There's been a trend that the Cardinals are actually also targeting much taller human
Mhm.
beings. We know that there is plenty to say about our quarterback's height, but let's
Mhm.
talk receivers, because I have it here in my notes. Out of last year's top 5 receivers, only 2 were above 6 foot: Michael Wilson and Zach Pascal, who's not even a starter, but is among those top 5.
Mhm.
This year's 2024 squad, if we're looking at the top 5 receivers, 4 of the 5 are above 6 feet tall: Michael Wilson, Zach Pascal, Chris Moore, Marvin Harrison Jr. And Greg Dortch is the only one of the 5. He's at 5'7", but we still gotta light the torch. He's a fast little booger.
Absolutely. And speed does have an impact on the game. So
It really does. I mean, height for sure. They're going to be able to jump higher, reach higher. They have, a broader step when they're taller. So we know that height has an impact on receiving. Let's switch gears a little bit in the notes, if you don't mind. I didn't really add this, but now I'm thinking, do you buy into a lot of the height discussion around quarterbacks? Do they need to be over 6 feet tall? I feel like Kyler performs exceptionally at his height. What are your thoughts?
I mean, when I talk to people about the Cardinals, a lot of things that I hear from, I would say mainly men, are they feel as though he can't see over anybody, and that's why they're not doing well. And I personally feel as though there's a lot more to it than just the fact that he is under 6 foot tall. I mean, he definitely has better mobility and he's a lot faster on his feet than a taller quarterback. I just think it's kind of getting old to talk
Yeah.
about his height. There's a reason why he's still around, and he has shown us that he can do a great job. But, as I like to say a lot, it's about the entire team. So we got to
Mhm.
look at the O-line, we got to look at everybody else who is supporting him in his plays to make them happen. I feel as though we need to move on. We need to find something new.
I agree. I don't necessarily know if the quarterback height plays a huge role. I think in the receiver position, it might play a
Yeah.
bigger role, because at least our quarterback has the O line keeping everybody back. He can move around in the pocket, he can leave the pocket. he can run. Whereas a receiver's battling it out in the field and they need to be able to outperform, whether it's leaping
Yes.
or running. So I found that really interesting, though, that now instead of just 2 of our top receivers being over 6 foot, 4 of the 5 are now well over 6 feet tall.
There you go. That way Kyler can see them.
He can see them.
Way
They're waving
far
their
out
hands.
there, ready.
So quality people, tall people. And then
Mhm.
friend of the podcast, Donnie Druin, he's a beat reporter for the Cardinals. So he gets access that we don't get to. So we get to report this stuff secondhand. But Donnie heard from offensive coordinator Drew Petzing and defensive coordinator Nick Rallis in a press conference, and he compiled some of the talking points for us about what they're looking forward to in the 2024 season. Do you want to kind of recap those notes for us?
Yes. So Pat Singh was talking about how the team won't put any limitations on what our Marvin Harrison Jr. can do. So that's cool. Really excited to have a full off season with a healthy Kyler Murray, beefed up on the line. We've got the best run blocking tight end, and we've drafted a running back. So they're ready to run the ball. And then Rallis said, free agent vets have already taken over leadership roles and have stepped up in the meeting. So that's fantastic. That's what we need. Incredibly excited about the versatility of the new rookies. And then he does love Zaven Collins, who I adore, and is excited for year 2 as an edge.
Yeah, and I don't know that any of that was surprising, but it is really nice to hear it out of their mouths, get in front of the cameras, and just share the positive news going into the year. I was actually super confused for a second, and I texted Donnie and I said, I swear I read somewhere that we were letting go of Zaven Collins. And he said, no, no, no. We're not picking up his 5th-year option, which means he will return for the 2024 season, but for the following season, he'll become a free agent, and there'll need to be decisions made again at that point of whether or not they're going to pick up a contract that will be north of $18 million.
Wow,
So
that's a lot.
it's a lot, but if
Yeah.
he can perform, and again, another quality human being, then
Mhm.
I would love to be able to hang on to him again following this season.
Absolutely. And I think that it's been I don't want to say a learning curve, but it's probably been a little different because he was introduced to the league as a middle linebacker. And
Right.
then Collins came in, he was moved to the edge. So, maybe he's just trying to feel his way. But in the end, he is a professional football player and he's gotta prove himself. And hopefully this will be the motivation for him this year.
Yeah, I hope so, because to your point, this is only going to be his 2nd year playing in the edge spot. So if our defensive coordinator is excited about it, then I think we should be excited about it too and give all of our support that we can to Zaven.
I agree.
It's kind of a slow news week
Mhm.
despite just being through all of this draft talk. So we have a little bite-sized show this week, especially since you're under the weather. Is there anything else you want to talk about this week?
Oh, goodness. What did you think about the bees at the Diamondbacks game a couple days ago? I thought that was a pretty fun story.
That was a fun story. I love anything that has to do with tying in our sports community. Share
Mhm.
about the bees, Charlotte.
Yes, so they had to stop play for a while because there was a giant, massive group of bees. I don't know what it's called. And so they had to call in a beekeeper. And from what I hear on the radio, I believe that he was at his son's t-ball or his kid's practice. And so he came out from surprise and put on his beekeeper outfit and came out and got rid of the bees. And then to thank him, they let him do the first pitch. And boy, this guy did not know his day was going to start like that. And I guess he did a great job with his pitch. And if I'm not mistaken, I saw today on social media that they actually already created a baseball card for him.
That is amazing. One, that all the bees are safe.
Yes.
Two, this guy got his, golden moment of life. Well, it has been another great week. As always, love being here with you, Charlotte. Love being here with everybody who's listening. If you have anything else that you want to add to today's show, please feel free to reach out to us on the app formerly known as Twitter. I'm at Kelly in Phoenix. She's at Shaff, and the show is at SigPod Kelly. We would love to hear from you, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast app. Thanks.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, anything you can do to support our show. We really do appreciate it.
That is a true story. So we'll see you next week. Until then, bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.